I'm just kidding, guys. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew and I'm going to show you what makes a good streaming rig. Now if you're like me and you play off a console, you might not need to buy a high-end gaming rig which will support your gaming as well as streaming. If this video is for you, keep watching. I'm going to break down the crucial settings to consider as well as what settings I use. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this is assuming you either have a console or a 2 PC setup where you're going to be exclusively using this PC for streaming and not gaming at all. So one key thing to note is that since you won't be using this for gaming, you won't actually need to have a high-end graphics card, which is going to save you a ton of money. And in some cases, you might actually get away with not even using a graphics card at all. Instead, what you're going to need to focus on is your CPU and of course your internet connection. Your CPU is the part that transcodes the video of what you're playing into a format that can be uploaded to Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, etc. So technically speaking, for a streaming PC, you can go as low as a Ryzen 3 processor or an 8th generation Intel i5 processor, as long as it has at least 4 cores and 4 threads. And this is going to allow you to stream in about 720p with 30 frames per second. But as a streamer myself, I find myself browsing online, playing music, and having stream overlays on my video gameplay footage. And trust me, streaming alone takes up a ton of the workload on your CPU. So adding anything else to that could cause lagging to your stream or ultimately crash your OBS or streaming software. So for my recommendation, I would recommend going for an Intel i5 8600 or a Ryzen 5 1600X. This way you can take advantage of the additional cores and the additional threads for more processing power. I personally run a Ryzen 7 2700X, and yes, I know this is a little bit of overkill just for streaming alone, but since I do video editing on my spare time, I was able to take advantage of the additional cores and threads since video editing alone is very CPU intensive. Aside from your CPU, your internet connection plays a huge factor as well. I will always recommend hardwiring a cable straight from your router or modem to your PC to avoid Wi-Fi at all costs, because running Wi-Fi is going to give you a reduced speed and a higher chance of unstable connection. To check your Wi-Fi, head on over to speedtest.net and click on Go. The number you should focus on is your upload speed, as this is the number which constitutes what bitrate you're going to be using for your stream. But we're going to get into this a little bit later. Next off is your capture device. Now what I personally use is an Elgato HD60S, and what this does is that it captures your gameplay footage and records it to your PC for uploading or recording purposes. The capture device you buy is very dependent on what you're trying to stream in. So whether it's 720p, 1080p, 4K, and it depends on what frame rate you're trying to achieve, whether it's 30 FPS or 60 FPS. Lastly is your streaming software. Now yes, you could stream directly from your Elgato capture card, but unfortunately Elgato does not support stream overlays, many customizations that you could do in things like OBS, OBS Live, XSplit, and Streamlabs OBS. Now I personally use OBS, so for this example I'm going to show you what settings I use on OBS and what you should focus on. Upon opening OBS and linking your Twitch and so forth, you click on the little cog in the bottom right of the program and that will open up your settings. Now under output, you'll see the encoder settings, which should be set to X264 to give your CPU the job of encoding your gameplay. When you scroll down a little bit, you see the bitrate. Now this is really dependent on what you're trying to achieve here. Like I said before, looking back at your upload speed that we tested earlier, remember the number is in megabytes per second. So once you multiply that by 1000, you'll get your kilobits per second. So in this case here, I can do 5700 for my bitrate, but since internet speeds are always fluctuating, it's always good as a rule of thumb to do about 70 to 90% of your upload speed. Since I have 5700 kilobytes per second as my upload speed, I want to do about 75% of capacity. So I end up putting in 4300 as my target bitrate. For simple terms, let's say I had 4000 as my upload speed and I wanted to run it at 75% of capacity. So my target bitrate will then be 3000. Although I have a high performance CPU which can easily handle 1080p at 60 frames per second, my limiting factor is my upload speed. So for that reason, I'd rather do 720p at 60 frames per second rather than 1080p. Here's a recommended chart from Twitch that you should follow depending on what quality you're looking for. But remember, sometimes it's better to have a higher bitrate in lower quality than a higher quality in a lower bitrate. For example, if I decided to run at 1080p at 60 frames per second, I'll barely be scratching the surface because of the bitrate. And so this is going to result in lag and frame drops, which will cause a discomfort for the viewer. Besides these two settings in OBS, you can mess around with other settings in here, like your resolution, your frame rate, your CPU process priority, but this is heavily dependent on what you're trying to achieve and with what hardware you have running in your PC. So basically, this is how your stream should look. You should be playing on a gaming PC or console, and connected you should have your capture card, which captures your gameplay and sends it to your streaming PC, which utilizes a streaming software like OBS, which then encodes the video and uploads it to Twitch or any other stream platform. I hope I was able to bring clarity to any doubts you had in your build. If you're a streamer or someone looking to stream, let me know in the comment section below what type of combination you have running and if it's working for you. But as always, if you learned a thing or two, don't forget to like and subscribe for more things like this. Check me out on Twitch where I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and sometimes Fridays at 8:30 Eastern Time. And if you want to chat with me, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and we can have a conversation. But like always, thanks for watching and peace out.
Fuck.
In order to get the please stand up quick, I gotta be like level 10, I think.
I'm running, nigga.
Oh my god, dude. Yo,
Get down.
Yo, that train just demolished my ass.
Yo, who got dragged by the train? I'm done with you.
Yo.